So welcome to our next session, which will be Achiko. Before I hand over to my colleague Farhad, who will moderate the session virtually, as a reminder for the ones participating via the web, you can ask your questions via the chat function. For the ones in the room here, we will do the Q&A afterwards physically. And having said that, I hand over to you, Farhad.
Yes, thanks, Marcus. So hi, everyone. So a few words on my side first on Achiko, before leaving the floor actually to Achiko CEO and founder Steven Goh. So we initiated actually Achiko at the beginning of the year as a fintech company with a buy recommendation, which we still maintain actually. Achiko is indeed ambitioning to become a reference in financial services in Southeast Asia. So the launching of these services and a super application is still on track, but has been delayed actually because of the pandemic. So as of now, Achiko's main point of focus is to therefore to leverage its existing platform to become a reference in contact tracing the pandemic via Teman Sehat. It is actually also planning to offer a new type of tests called Gumnuts, which are cheaper to produce and faster to get the results. So from my last discussions with Steven, these projects went well on track, but I will let now Steven to develop in more details these projects. So please, Steven, go ahead.
Thank you. So for the team at Baader, very grateful to be here today to be able to present this to yourselves. As you can tell from my accent, I'm actually Australian, but don't hold that against me. Okay, so Achiko was originally listed as a fintech company, and because of COVID and what it's taken to execute on that strategy in the international markets we're in, we've chosen to retask the assets of the company to respond to the situation. And I'd just love to, I'm once again grateful to be here today to be able to share that with yourselves. So there are two major pillars here. One of them is Gumnuts, which is a novel COVID testing technology. I'll walk everyone through that later on. And Teman Sehat, which is called Health Buddy. It's not really contact tracing. It's actually passporting in an ecosystem. And when I explain it to everyone later on, hopefully you'll understand what the differences are between what we are pursuing versus classical contact tracing or other passporting systems. Perhaps today I'll walk you through where we are, what we believe the problems are, once again the two major products and platforms, and what the business model is. But first, what I'd like to do is I'd like to share a video with yourselves. So perhaps if you can play the video. And maybe Farhad, if you can let me know.
In 2020, our world has become very different. The COVID-19 pandemic has dramatically changed all our lives. Whether you live in the USA, Europe, Indonesia, India, or Africa, lockdowns, restrictions on travel, and social distancing have become the norm. The pandemic has taken a toll on everyone with economic, social, and political impact across the globe. The world has responded in many ways: social distancing, testing, a race for a vaccine. This hasn't been easy, and it looks like a long road ahead. Many people infected with COVID-19 are asymptomatic and may not develop symptoms, but may infect other people, the consequences of which may be life-changing or even fatal. The current pattern is, a person may develop symptoms, then gets tested. Those who have been in contact with the person for up to 2 weeks prior to developing symptoms would have to be identified through contact tracing and may be required to self-quarantine. This method only adds to the fear that is sitting as a cloud over everyone's heads. The world is waiting and hopeful for a vaccine. Some may become available in early 2021. However, with side effects, efficacy rates of under 60%, income inequality, difficulties of access, and a large portion of the population indicating that they don't want to take a vaccine, then vaccination alone may not be the pathway out of the pandemic. There are no simple solutions. Everywhere in the world is facing this challenge. We need to find a way through. Achiko was founded in 2018 as a fintech company and listed on the SIX Swiss Stock Exchange in 2019. Achiko has responded to the COVID-19 situation with two key technologies, Teman Sehat and Gumnuts. Teman Sehat is a platform that allows business, governments, testing, and people to safely manage themselves and bring life back to the old normal. Gumnuts is a unique testing technology. It's different to PCR and antigen approaches, and if successful, promises to revolutionize access, cost, and ease of testing.
Gumnuts is a novel COVID-19 testing technology that we have secured uniquely from Argencelix. It takes a chemical approach to a molecular test, unlike PCR and antigen testing, which are common in COVID testing and may be beleaguered by supply chain, cost, or design issues.
Taking saliva samples from people that are either PCR positive or PCR negative, we'll be able to determine the validity of the test and the sensitivity of this prototype lab kit. Following that data, we are hopeful that we're able to manage and deal with this global pandemic in a different way for communities, for cities, and for countries.
Our testing technology relies on DNA aptamers, and aptamers provide a number of improvements to the current testing regime. One, by being more specific, certainly being far more sensitive, and far more user-friendly to the consumer.
Gumnuts is a revolutionary testing technology that may bring fast, low-cost, and a friendly, inobtrusive testing experience to the masses. Testing is a problem in the first world. For the developing world and its 6.5 billion or so citizens, Gumnuts may be the right technology for them. Up until recently, testing has typically been delivered through two methodologies, PCR, RT-PCR, and antigen antibody, and two sampling methodologies, nasal swab or blood sample. Saliva has been elusive due to its chemistry and fauna. All rely on technologies that are 30 to 50 years old and suffer from either process limitations, equipment, reagents, etc., or design issues, fragility of antigens, etc. Gumnuts, that uses DNA aptamers and the testing process end-to-end, is based on commodity materials. End-to-end and as a kit, the cash costs per test may be under $25 per test and be an experience less intrusive than brushing your teeth. Beyond Gumnuts, Achiko is looking at other ways to use the technology. The company is no longer bound by the same testing format as PCR or antigen approaches. Achiko is eyeing to apply the approach to other pathogens as well, dengue, tuberculosis, biomarkers for cancer, etc.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Firdaus, Wali Kota Pekanbaru, dalam rangka pencegahan penyebaran COVID-19. Pemerintah Kota Pekanbaru bekerja sama dengan Achiko meluncurkan sebuah ekosistem digital di mana aplikasi Teman Sehat sebagai alat bantu kontak tracing yang lebih cepat. Dan juga kita sedang melakukan pengembangan tes COVID teknologi baru yang lebih murah dan akurat. Harapannya dengan ini semua bisa membantu kita menghadapi pandemi ini. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Teman Sehat itself is a platform that can be applied to flattening the curve and slowing the spread of COVID-19. The platform was developed by a team in Switzerland, the UK, Indonesia, South Korea, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, and Australia. Teman Sehat is an ecosystem platform that combines testing certificates, payments, safe areas, and the benefits of contact tracing without the fear that many contact tracing systems bring. How does it work? Teman Sehat sits on top of a payments and couponing system. Users can check into places in return for a coupon, or in some places, be charged a small fee. Some places may require users to present a certificate showing that a person has been recently tested. This has a number of benefits. 1. It means that places can secure themselves and ensure that only recently tested people that can easily be traced can enter the establishments. 2. We put the utility of contact tracing on the network and privately message people and places if they have been exposed. If they want to clear a flag on their certificates, they will need to either quarantine and be kept away from check-ins for a period of time or get a test. This is different to other contact tracing approaches and puts the power in the hands of the users. 3. The cost burden of testing can be borne by many check-ins. One test can be used many times, reducing the cost and frequency of testing. Additionally, the money collected from check-ins and coupon redemptions can be used to pay for testing. If there's a surplus, the funds can be applied to expanding healthcare and public education programs, relieving the currently stretched government budgets. 4. And lastly, it may even be possible where Teman Sehat is applied universally and along with Gumnuts to do near 100% testing over a weekend, thus clearing a population for normal activities, and then allowing people who test positive to be quarantined or given care in a manner that respects their health and privacy. Teman Sehat isn't contact tracing. It's a whole ecosystem approach to allowing everyone to be involved in a return to the old normal.
The pandemic presents challenges to everyone around the world, governments, people, institutions, businesses, everywhere. We believe with the right tools, the right technologies, it is possible for us to return to the old normal. Achiko can play a role here.
Your micro is still out, Steven. You have to activate the micro.
I'm no longer on mute. Okay, thank you very much. We are now in the world of Zoom. Okay, so once again, Achiko today, responding to the pandemic, has a renewed, reset, and refocused sense of purpose. We've made a number of changes to the company, and then substantially, most of our assets and resources now are focused on these two main pillars. We still do have other entertainment assets still lying around the company. Those are still progressing in development, but the main focus is on these two pillars. As you're all aware, it is a pandemic, and I think for a while people were looking to vaccines as a solution. So whenever a vaccine appeared, we could all go back to our normal lives. I think it is becoming very apparent to everyone now that a vaccine is not a silver bullet. And it's going to take a wide range of different technologies and programs and activities for us to see ourselves back to our old normal. Many of these things have political implications. So if you can see all the drama around the planet around social distancing and wearing a mask, it's very clear that contact tracing systems they all have the sense of big brother attached to them, and there's a natural reaction, especially from westernized countries, against such systems. And then in the space of diagnostics, especially in the area of testing, it's very clear that every government on the planet is struggling with testing. You're constantly hearing the story of everyone loves to say, yes, testing will be available to everyone, only to find out 2 to 3 weeks later that's not the case. And there are many countries around the planet that are going back into shutdowns again. That's obviously not good from an economic standpoint. So firstly, with Teman Sehat, once again, Teman Sehat is not about contact tracing. It's more akin to like a Foursquare/Swarm style of application, where if you had a recent test, you can check in and you get preferences and the like. And thus, from a population standpoint, we're able to bias the population towards more safe behaviors, or alternatively, if they've been tested, to allow people to move in different areas. This has many advantages. And then in the case of, unlike the contact tracing process where a person becomes symptomatic, they go and get a test, and they get a test and they have to go back and surprise everyone that they came in touch with for the prior 14 days and basically scare everyone. Unlike that, we send just simply private messaging in the background. We touch everyone's flags. We keep it private so that people are aware that they might have been exposed. And then it's up to them to go and get another test to try and clear the flag. So it puts privacy in the hands of people, and it keeps it away from the sense of big government. It also allows basically us to connect the dots between places like football stadiums, boarding a plane, going to work in a meatworks factory, shipping in containers, going to schools, all these different applications. They can all provide little microcharges or micro contributions, which may be able to pay for the cost of testing. So rather than a government wearing the cost of testing and then having to pay for whatever, all that sort of that's spread across a variety of usage. We think that has many advantages. We're pretty excited. We actually chose a location in Indonesia to get this going. Largely because we thought it represented two axes. One of them is back to first world countries, and the other one is pretty much to the other 90% of the rest of the planet. As you're aware, many first world countries are struggling with dealing with the pandemic. You can only imagine what this means really in substance for many countries which have lack of testing or maybe last in the queue for vaccines and the like. So hence this is our location of choice. In about 6 to 8 weeks, we've got about over 40,000 users. We started accelerating about a week and a half ago, so it's now gone to about 800 locations, and we've only just put on couponing. So couponing means that we're able to start paying for testing out of restored economic value. So if you go to a place and you're safe and the like, and you consume something, you buy something, you've actually created a sale. We create little microcharges out of that, and we then use that to go back to pay for the cost of testing. So we think that's pretty cool. Gumnuts I think is something that's really captured everyone's imagination. Is a different style of testing. So unlike PCR, RT-PCR, and the universe of molecular testing approaches, including a more recent derivative of LAMP, that value chain there is extremely constrained, either by reagents, hardware, the level of overhead that comes with PP and all the things that come with this. It's typical that a PCR test across the planet might cost anything between $60 and $300 for a test. That's just simply too expensive to apply universally, regularly. And then with antigen tests, where you train the antibody of some poor animal to recognize COVID, while statistically you're seeing many test kits out there produced with high accuracy, sensitivity, and specificity rates, the style of testing, and when used in the field, there's all the vagaries around or issues around antigen testing. We hear of reports in Indonesia where the effective rates for antigen testing are as low as 20 to 30%. And also antigen testing, whilst it's substantially cheaper than PCR testing, it still has a cost floor. The cost to produce the enzymes which go into the antigen test will forever struggle to fall below €3 a test. So whilst in some countries, like in Europe, the idea of getting $5, $10, $20 tests once or twice a week, that's on the edge of acceptability. As soon as you start going to places like in Southeast Asia, South Asia, Africa, South America, Central America, all these other places, that cost is still too high. So what we have with Gumnuts is we produce a synthetic protein that is encoded to specifically recognize the non-mutating parts of the COVID protein. The estimated cost, just to give you an idea, once again, cost, the enzyme in an antigen kit might cost, the absolute floor is about €3. In our case, the absolute floor is about 5 cents. So that is a fantastic cost advantage. It starts with that. Secondly, because it is uniquely encoded, it's far more specific. So it doesn't have the vagaries of dealing with provoking animal's immune system. Here, no, we've encoded to the DNA, to the chemical signature of the COVID-19 protein. Secondly, just one more thing about the Gumnuts test before I keep going. It's the protocol of the test, and we're looking at publishing this in the next few weeks. It starts with just it's saliva based, so you start with just a minty mouthwash. Then there's a procedural step which I'm looking forward to sharing with everyone soon. But ultimately, it ends with just a minty mouthwash, spit in a cup, and then there's an assay process which takes under 5 minutes to deliver a result. And we're excited because the in vitro data tells us we have a test. We filed the provisional patent in Australia because to make that filing, you actually had to prove lab data. You had to show that we actually had a test. So that have a test, which is absolutely fantastic. We've done some spot testing. We're proceeding towards clinical evaluation trials at the moment. We're looking forward to getting this out of production later this year. When this comes together, we believe that compared to other styles of tests, so PCR may give you evidence of you were exposed to the virus, or antigen, whether you're on the threshold or at a viral load where you are infectious. We think that it is likely that Gumnuts will be testing for in the infectious period, not necessarily whether you're exposed or not, because of the style of the test. Okay. Once again, we're really excited with this because we think that this is there's two more interesting things about Gumnuts. So unlike PCR and antigen testing, where there's a huge value chain required to deliver a set of constrained, and places are just running out of tests at the moment, or antigen testing, which has got some structural and design issues. In Gumnuts' case, we can produce an almost unlimited amount of the synthetic protein. It requires a known chemical process to just produce that conjugate. That is almost unlimited. The rest of the kit is substantially a mixture of Listerine and plastic and some other commodity components. So there are no capacity constraints. If we needed to scale this thing to get to like 1 billion, 2 billion, 5 billion, 20 million tests per month, it is possible that Gumnuts could actually scale to that. There is existing infrastructure that's out there. If you buy bottled water or you buy cans of Coca-Cola, the size of that infrastructure can actually deliver the test for Gumnuts. So this is one of the reasons why we're so excited. We launched the preliminary patent in August. We've got some updates to that and post that and product design. We're looking at sharing that more fully with the rest of the world. We did have successful and ongoing tests in Barcelona and Revere and a couple of other places, which is pretty cool. We're currently going through validation trials in Spain, Pekanbaru, which is in Indonesia, and Singapore. We've actually yesterday applied for FDA approval. So we're barreling towards that very, very quickly. And then we're currently organizing manufacturing plants around the planet. And marketing deals. And over the balance of this year, we're looking forward to, if the clinical trials are successful, which we've got every hope and belief that they may be, then we'll be looking at rolling these things out fairly aggressively as this year progresses. Gumnuts works with Teman Sehat because if you can imagine it then, if Gumnuts ends up being a 15-second minty mouthwash, which is a subset of your dental hygiene protocol, and then Teman Sehat gives you a safe badge to walk around places, but keeps that information away from governments and the places themselves, and keeps it personally with you to show that you've recently you brushed your teeth. we're looking at effectively then we can open up economies with just what is basically just simply 15-second minty mouthwashes and just walk around and carry your phone. All these shutdowns and lockdowns that you're seeing around the planet, you may not need a lockdown. You would just simply, if there is a viral bloom, and ultimately we're trying to bring R0 below 1, let's keep the viral rate to a point where the healthcare systems and governments and the like can actually manage this pandemic, then yes, you just simply flag everyone saying, well, look, there appears to be a viral bloom on a Friday. People just go through their regular tests as they progress on the weekend, and you can walk around safely on your mobile phone on a Monday. And this allows us an ability then to help places avoid shutdowns and lockdowns. We think this also has an application to our vertical markets. So if we found an island, say holiday islands, we could actually secure the entire population of an island. We can secure large-scale manufacturing places of large-scale manufacturing, meat processing, import and export locations, potentially airlines and travel. We are starting to experiment with that, which is exciting, and the like. So this is something that we think is really, we're very, very excited with this. Yeah. Lastly, it is an experienced team. Look, my background, some people remember me from producing social networks and others people from finance. My background's tech. I grew up on a university campus and did a whole bunch of stuff there. And Mike Adele, the chief scientist for Gumnuts, does have a 30-plus year distinguished career in what is ultimately stem cell research and genetic engineering, which is great. Our CFO, who's recently come on board, and Chris Young are two experienced and seasoned executives and carry many decades of experience behind them. So once again, the sum of these things then we think are the ultimate contributors then to what can drive shareholder value. I believe our market capitalization at the moment is somewhere around $45 to $50 million or thereabouts. And if we're successful, say with Gumnuts, and we start delivering tens or hundreds of millions of test kits, which have all the characteristics of basically brushing your teeth, then I think you can translate that then to what that might mean for shareholder value. Perhaps everyone here can understand and appreciate our choices here as to why we've made the strategic choice. There are technology extensions beyond this. So whilst I'll just jump back a couple of slides. Whilst COVID-19 sits and rests with us at the moment, and we hope that first world countries in the next 2 years find a way beyond the pandemic, I would suspect that we're going to be cursed with this affliction for many years longer. We can actually adapt then the same strategy that we've applied to COVID-19. We're able to deal with any successions or variations on mutations of the virus. We've already started looking at evaluating dengue, biomarkers for cancer, and many other pathogens and the like. And we think that the sum of these two end up being a contemporary sort of a digital diagnostics platform, which we can then integrate into other telehealth infrastructure for the future. So once again, we've taken the payments and entertainment media assets of the company. We've retasked it for something that may be much larger now, and looking forward to playing a role in helping us all back to the old normal. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, thank you very much, Steven, for your presentation. I just have a look here around in the room. Is there a question from the audience? There's one. Can you start, please? Yeah, so the question was how you're funding all that, Steven, and how your plans for financing your plans are.
We absorbed some capital post 30 June, as you can see from our announcements, and that is enough for us to get to certainly to complete the in vitro trials and getting to a first stage for clinical validation testing. The sales pipeline that is emerging gives us some encouragement for being able to fund the business just through pre-sales. And certainly the indications are at the moment that, yeah, we're cautiously optimistic there. Yeah.
Is that fine with you? Okay, that's here from the room. You might get into a personal discussion to dig a bit deeper into that. And Farhad, I hand over to you to run through the virtual Q&A. I've seen a lot of questions in the chat, so you can shoot these questions to Steven. Over to you, Farhad.
Yes, thank you. So Steven, I asked some couple of questions here. So the first.
We can hear you, Farhad. All good?
Yeah, okay. So start with the first question. How many users use fintech services of Achiko today? Would there be revenues from COVID testing in 2020? And if yes, how much? That's the first question.
Well, perhaps to dimension it out for a moment. For us to play out the fintech services in a place like Indonesia, we do require people to be able to travel. That's not just within the country, but in and out of the country as well. All travel is effectively stopped, and we are keeping people at home. So that's frustrated the company. We believe that the fintech business still retains a few 100,000 users per month and continues, and the like. So that's the fintech business. For COVID, just to dimension out some of the things that we've put up here. If we cover a population of, say, 100 million people and 10% of those people check in every day at 10 cents a day, that does end up being very, very large by numbers very, very quickly. That is our revenues and that's our sales. So I'll leave it to you to, I believe all that information can be derived from what is in the public domain, and certainly from this presentation. And if Gumnuts is successful and you change this thinking away from wait till someone is symptomatic, then go and test them, then go and scare everyone that they ever spoke to, and then lock everything down. But then if you shift it to like, no, we're going to test 100% of the 100% of workforces, like go and test the entire workforce of a country 4 times a month at $1 or $2 per test, which becomes possible at that price point. And because it's not a nasal swab, which is extremely invasive, I've had a few. I didn't enjoy one. And then the antigen tests typically require a blood draw, which also isn't fun. Here, because it's just a simply minty mouthwash, absolutely. You know, that becomes entirely possible. So if we go and test entire populations of countries and charge like $1 or $2 per test and 4 or 5 times a month, I think you can sort of figure out what modeling then, you know, what success with Gumnuts can be. Once again, we're very excited. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Steven. So I go on. So the fintech was a mega trend actually when you went public. That was the key theme for Achiko. So is it down now, or is the business still with the company? So if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, we still have access to payment infrastructure in Indonesia, wallets and the like, and ability to put out those services. But once again, they do require, for those services to really come to life, do require us to have an organization that can travel, and that remains. Hopefully, we find a way beyond COVID sooner, and Gumnuts and Teman Sehat helps us there, whereupon those things can come back to life. But if not, then travel will take longer. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You simply need to pass regulatory requirements. You need to do business development deals. It's possible to do some of those things by Zoom, but for a lot of business, the answer is no. You actually need people to travel.
Okay. So one question, which is actually about the share price. So quite long. I try to be clear. So actually, in August 2020, shares of Achiko went up from 0.2 to 1.6. Swiss franc, with more than 40 million shares traded in 6 days. That is about 50% of the company outstanding shares. So actually, the question is, where did this free float come from? Because at that time, it is higher than when it was listed. So did you finance the company by selling shares? And the other question is, why did you do a capital increase some days before for only 0.15 Swiss franc if you had that kind of great news regarding contact tracing and Gumnuts. So that's for the question about the share.
Yeah. So firstly, once again, whilst contact tracing is in the solution, it's not really contact tracing. It's something very different. I'll get that. I'll keep messaging that. So firstly, we're not following the share price on a day-by-day basis. And I know, just for everyone's benefit, I built Australia's first online stockbroking business in 1994. And I actually used to write dealing systems and coding systems like. I used to work as an advisor at Merrill Lynch and James Capel. James Capel was a well-known investment bank in the 1990s. For those of you who are old enough to remember it. So I understand that a lot of people do like following shares and following the trading every day. We're not focused on that. We're focused on building the business. And we think that the underlying business will speak for itself. As that news gets out and shows that we have a strategy that is useful and meaningful to the world, then the market will sort itself out. So we start with that. It's very clear as the year was progressing, and I think the travel and organizational situation cross-border. Remember, Achiko is a very international company. It does have a headquarters in Switzerland and operations in Korea and Indonesia, a few other places. If you can't travel, your business, we were battling very hard. We were battling very hard to try and deliver a range of things for our shareholders, which was great. But fundamentally, look, we're there ultimately to deliver a result, right? So we're depleting capital to 30 June. It was important for us to raise funds so that the organization could function. Right until the moment before we filed the patent, we were still doing test results in the lab. It was entirely possible that the test results would come up negative, and we had to make a call on it. So we actually did a financing at that time to make sure that the company is a going concern. We're very fortunate that the results came out and, from the labs. We've done several thousand tests in the lab, and the thing about filing a patent in Australia is it's filed by a domain expert. So you cannot just file any old document. You've actually got to be filed by an expert in the space. So they've got there is some third-party process, the expert process there. So that happened. And then when we announced it, I think the shares responded as people would respond to what is going on in the markets at the moment. So in case anyone hasn't noticed, there is a global pandemic on, and testing is a problem. And unlike anyone else's testing technology, we can actually scale and solve it, like all of it. So I think that speaks for itself. That explains the interest in the shares. Now, since then, we're not announcing MOUs. We're not announcing letters of intent. We're only announcing contracts. Or if we get to a particular point where there's material disclosure to the market, once again, we are listed on SIX, and the company is committed to ensuring that it lives up to that set of reporting responsibilities. As the year unfolds and commercial contracts hopefully emerge and the like, and those commercial contracts emerge and the like, then we're going to be very excited in reporting them. So we'll see how we go from there. Okay? Yeah. Okay. And then sort of share volumes and the like, I'm not interested. It's a natural market. We actually started marketing the company. We changed our marketing strategy. Prior to 26th of June, we were a Caymans company listed in Switzerland, originally because we were thinking that Caymans would give us an advantage. Fintech actually was a huge liability. And we found that trading cross-border, especially in the dark region, was often problematic because we were a Caymans company. And now that we're 100% a Swiss-listed company, I believe everyone can trade our shares, and with the right news, then the market responds accordingly, right? Yeah.
Just Steven, one last one, because maybe 1 minute remaining. So just question is, when do you deliver the half-year results for Achiko?
We'll be putting out on Monday.
On Monday, okay. And last one, if I have some time, is Teman Sehat based on a centralized storage system, and how and why is the data located?
Sorry, the second part is?
how and where is that data located?
Oh, okay, gotcha. So it is secured centrally because we believe that it's far more secure than any blockchain or any other such solutions, which quite frankly, once again, being the son of a mathematician and a guy who writes assembler and C++, might know a couple of things about that. It is secured to a banking grade. We have substantially many of the elements for GDPR compliance. We are looking forward to being fully GDPR compliant as this year progresses and for the countries that we launch it. It's hosted. It's hosted currently. The current deployment is hosted in an encrypted instance on AWS. We are looking at moving that and increasing our investment in the infrastructure that we have in Switzerland. We believe that Switzerland is a fantastic brand for security, and we're looking forward to ensuring that our headquarters in Switzerland ends up being a strength in our ability to roll that application out and to wherever it needs to be on the planet. Yeah.
Okay. And there was a last one, but I think you partly answered it. It's about the whole payment business. So the business is still with the company, from what I understood. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, we can have a few 100,000 customers and they might do a few dollars a month and we try and grow that business and the like. Alternatively, I could sell 100 million test kits, a few dollars per month. We're here to deliver shareholder value, and that is our focus. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Here it's no more questions on the virtual side.
Okay, thank you, Steven. Thank you, Farhad. Thank you for the active question posting here in the session. That's the end of the session now, and we're having a lunch break now. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.